Lasker here. First of all, I'd like to welcome Mr. Phillips and McCaffrey and all those who are joining us from another room. As a new member of this committee, I look forward to working with you over the 5 years and to be as fair and frank when both elements are required. Can I just relate to a number of items that are listed in the Controller and Auditor General's report? I think it's well understood the history of the Tainton Hall site, and I suppose my question at this point is, what next for Tainton Hall? Today we will see the passage of the legislation around the Central Mental Hospital and the provision of possibly providing 1,500 homes on what is state land and embedding affordability into the city. My question is that an option for the Tainton Hall site, and have both Justice and the Prison Service now decided that building a prison on that site is no longer an option? No, Deputy. I mean, as you know, it's a very large site. I suppose it's a strategic asset for the state, is our view of it. We've made it known to the Land Development Agency that there is a portion of it that we wouldn't have a strategic interest in. But I think in terms of the medium to long term, our preference would be to retain a portion of it as an option in case we need it, because our development potential around other prisons is very limited. As you'd be familiar with some of the ones in the city centre, for instance. It's just not possible to develop. Because obviously the accommodation issues in Mountjoy were one of the reasons for the development of Tainton Hall. So I suppose what has changed, or do you believe that a smaller prison can be accommodated on the site? We've no immediate plans. I'll let the Director ask the Director.
So we have reviewed the site. We've identified a potential area of the site, as the Secretary General has mentioned, that could be available for their state development. And I know we have personally engaged with OPW and more recently with the Land Development Agency in relation to potential for that site. I'm very concerned about retaining a portion of that site, and it's over 40 acres that we believe needs to be retained for future prison buildings. I think I mentioned earlier, our prison numbers have been increasing, and in 2019 we saw a 10% increase in relation to the numbers in custody. And in fact, just before the pandemic, our prisons were full, and regrettably and very unfortunately, we were accommodating prisoners on mattresses on the floor. Now, there's a huge amount of work been done, particularly within the department, in relation to looking at alternatives to custody, particularly for people serving short-term sentences. And over 70% of people who came to custody in 2019 came for less than 12 months. But I know that the Deputy here mentioned Clover Hill Prison, and depending on our capital budget in the future, I wouldn't rule out the potential development of either a closed prison or a different type of accommodation model.
You've mentioned the contact with the LDA. Have you indicated what percentage of the site would retain, and is there any indication of how many units, i.e. homes, could be developed on the other portion of the site, or has any work been done on that?
Well, we've identified approximately 40 acres, and we've identified 112 acres that could be used for a potential state development. I wouldn't be in a position, unfortunately, to give
certainly
details.
Certainly 112 acres is a very, very significant development. It also would have a significant impact on the surrounding areas, and we saw a lot of I suppose, disputes with the original idea, and I imagine it's something that would have to be handled sensibly. But given the issues around affordability, it's a huge potential for the LDA to develop that portion of the site.
We had some discussions with Fingal a number of years ago about it, and their view was that it was kind of outside their development area in terms of homes, but the LDA are looking at other options in terms of displacing other services, so it may be an option for that. It's on their radar.
Well, I'm a great fan of the work that Fingal do. Often, as a representative for the Finglas area, I often think that their attention is not drawn to the housing needs in their border areas. So I might contradict them on that. I only have 1 minute left, and I did want to concentrate on some of the huge positives that are going on within the prison service. Last year, with the Bohemian Foundation, I had the great pleasure of visiting Mountjoy and to talk about some of the education opportunities that our people are doing. I wonder if you could outline some of the spending which has been done in education to support prisoners who perhaps are there for long-term stays.
Yeah, I mean, education forms a huge part of the regimes in place in our prisons. In terms of participation rates, over 40% of the prison population engage in education. And I suppose it's a variety in terms of delivery. So if I look at our current population today, the average age a person left school was 13.9 years of age. in relation to the current prison population. So education have a huge role to play. The Department of Education give us 220 whole-time equivalent teachers, and that's a huge investment by the Department of Education into our prisons. And then we support education with a budget, it's in excess of €1 million, that buys supplies and whatever might be required to ensure that we have appropriate supplies in place. But I can say I visited every education centre in all of our prisons, and it's a hugely vibrant learning area. Our teachers are hugely committed. They're part of the fabric of the prison, and the men and women are benefiting significantly because of the investment of education within our prisons.
That's great. If I could just finish with a comment rather than a question, and I don't have time to explore it with you, but perhaps on another occasion. The safety and security of prison officers and their families, and particularly with the impact of gangland crime. While spending is always an important issue, I would urge you to do everything and continue to do everything that you are doing to ensure the safety and security of those people who are often very vulnerable in their own communities. And I think there's a huge job of work that's been done by prison officers, and they deserve a lot of credit for it.
And just to confirm, we've put a new pillar in our strategy, which is all around security of our prisons and security of our staff.
I saw the extra spending on that.
I take that point on board.
Thank
absolutely.
You.